Hey everybody, Sean and Kelly Price here with Samson Properties.
What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about our 3 most memorable transactions.
Yes, and what we
and
learned
why.
from them.
Yeah, right. Would you like to lead us off?
I would like to lead us off. So this is actually it's going to be a fun video because we've had quite a few transactions that were pretty memorable. But when we were talking, it was just like, okay, what 3 popped to mind? And these were the first ones. So
that popped in your mind.
That popped in my
I
mind.
didn't get the ones that popped in my mind.
We'll have to talk about those next time. These are Sean's 3 most memorable transactions.
No, mine have more to do with the look of the place.
All right. Transaction number 1. This was early in our career.
This should have been my most memorable because it's the one that affected me the very, very most.
This did. It changed your course in your career. Yes. This was a property in Great Falls. Mm-hmm. We had been working with these buyers, looking at multiple properties. We had been looking for probably 6 months. Mm-hmm. They finally got under contract on this property.
Gorgeous place.
Gorgeous home. Yes. Mm-hmm. They had actually looked at this home a year prior, and it was one that had stayed on the market for a while. So we got them in for a good price and everything. And do you remember the details on this?
No.
Okay. So we are running along. This is a great transaction. Oh, here's another lesson learned. I forgot about this. We're sitting there. It's like, it's going great. Kelly says to me, she says,
oh, right.
Yes.
I screwed up.
She goes, I can't believe how great this transaction's going.
It's going so smooth.
Yes. And no more than 30 minutes later, we get a call from the lender. Now we are 10 days away from settlement. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're outside of any finance contingencies. That's already been settled. 10 days from settlement, we get a call from the lender, and the lender says,
after I open my big fat mouth.
Yes. And after the lender had ghosted us for about a week because we had been trying to check in with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
The lender says to us, they say, you know what? We cannot fund this loan. And when we called to try to dive into it, what it turned out was the lender had never asked, it always does that. The lender had never asked the client.
Coding.
Never asked the client for their tax returns. So when they
finally,
the whole time. So when they finally got to the point of asking for it.
This is the whole time during the house looking process, they had a pre-approval.
Yes.
Okay, this is why we hammer it in. It matters who gives you a pre-approval.
This was a local bank, one that many agents know is usually problematic. We're not going to name a name, but it is a very problematic bank. We've had a couple good transactions. We've had a lot of bad ones. This was our first bad one. So the lender never got the tax transcripts. They never, or to the actual taxes. When
and
they
this
finally
isn't
got
like,
them,
hey, the buyer never gave them to them, right? They never asked.
They never asked. They had full pre-approval. Not full pre-approval. They had a pre-approval.
They had a quote unquote. They said it's a full pre-approval.
Yep. So we scrambled. We scrambled. The good thing that came out of it. So basically, because of this, the buyer is now in a position.
We ended up scrambling and finding them another lender on the fly. Because the other thing that happened.
I was making a point.
What can? But you're getting to the end.
No, I wasn't. I was telling the buyer. So
are you going to talk about?
No. So the buyer is now in a position where they are going to lose the house and they're going to lose their earnest money deposit. Right. So now we scrambled.
And got them a new lender.
Yes. So one of the good things that came out of it, we met a lender that we've done many transactions with, and she actually did our personal transaction. So we got a really good lender contact out of this.
Yes, that was amazing.
That was amazing. We learned that a pre-approval is worth the paper that it's written on, especially if it's emailed over, because there's no paper.
That's funny.
Thank you.
You did good
there. And
that was such shit.
It was.
I'm still burned up about this.
And why are you so burned up about this?
Because it didn't have to be that way. That is not how it's supposed to work. That's not how you're trained to do it. And you do not ghost people.
Well,
you do your job and you do it right the first month.
How do you know what a lender's supposed to do?
Because I got my lender license after this.
So this was such a bad transaction that
I was like, not on my watch. This will never happen to our buyers ever again.
And we had done all of the research. We went through the checklist of questions with the lender. We asked them everything, but she now knows the behind the scenes questions to ask to know if they've actually been done.
And I know when they're bullshitting me.
That's right.
So we did everything a real estate agent can do, knows to do, and all of this. We stayed on top of it. What do you do when they ghost? Well, I now know what you do when they ghost,
Yep.
right?
Yep, that's right.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yep. So end of story. The buyer got the house. Everything
Yes.
was saved.
We
extended like a week. The seller was
Yes.
gracious enough to extend like a week. Hey, babe.
Yes.
And everything ended up settling fine, but we did end up
Yes.
having to go through that process
Yeah.
with that transaction.
And so now I have my loan officer license.
Yes.
I did it for over a year, realized I really, really hate the job. But I keep it active so that I know what the job is. I know what the laws are. I know what's expected. I maintain CEUs and yada, yada, yada. I'm on top of all of it. But we refer to lovely other mortgage loan officers who enjoy the job and do a very amazing job. And I keep it all just to benefit our clients, our real estate clients.
So
that makes me so
it still
mad.
gets you riled
It
up.
still gets me mad. Like when his name comes across now in a pre-approval, I'm like, no.
the lender.
The lender.
Or that bank even.
There is one really good loan officer from that bank.
Yep.
And now we have asked, remember,
Mhm,
we'll
we
say, hey,
requested.
if you can like request to work with this other person instead of this person, then
We'll be good.
maybe
We
it'll
can
be
vouch
a
for
good
it.
thing.
Yep. All right. So that was transaction number one. Very memorable. Still gets her huffing and puffing. Transaction number two happened in Clifton, Virginia.
A mansion. Beautiful.
Huge. So we've done an entire video on this property,
Yes.
and I'll include it in the links. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll include it in the comments. But so you can get the details. But long story short, the seller of this property,
our
huge
client,
$2 million property, received a cash offer, accepted the cash offer. One of the terms of the cash offer, for various reasons, again, we're not going into too much detail, but the buyer had to move in 2 weeks before settlement. So we warned the seller against this, of all the negative effects, but the offer was so strong that the seller was like, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Everything made sense. It's like, I mean, if this is ever going to work, this is the one it's going to work on.
That's right. So the buyers moved in, the buyer, his children, and his mother-in-law.
And his big dog.
And his big dog, who was not supposed to be there. 3 generations of family moved into this house. They also
had a whole lot of enjoyment.
Yes, herbal enjoyment that is becoming more and more legal, but still was an issue because it was damaging the house. Mm-hmm. And so, long story short, they move in. We have the earnest money deposit. The contract's moving forward. We get to settlement. We go to settlement. The seller signs his documents. We're leaving. We get in the elevator. As we're getting in the elevator, the buyers are coming out with their agent. We shake hands. We congratulate. They go in and they sign.
As a matter of fact, yes, all that is true. And then you come home and we almost had our celebratory tequila shot.
Yes,
Casamigos, baby.
Casamigos.
Almost. And it was what, 5:03?
Yes.
5:03. And I saw an email from Title saying, hey, just so you know, the settlement funds haven't come in yet. And I'm like,
this is a cash transaction.
Let's funnel this back in the bottle.
And this was a Friday afternoon. So now we have a buyer that's in default because they have not technically closed the property. We have no funds and they live in the property. And so long story short, they ended up putting more earnest money in. They ended up staying in the property another 3 weeks. The funds never came. The buyers ended up having to move out, had to get the property back into pre-occupancy condition. The seller we were able to get him right back on the market. We got him an even higher offer and everything worked out.
Everything ended beautifully.
Yes.
It did.
But
that was a huge mistake that we will not make again. Like there would be adverse consequences being signed
we will
if anybody wants to.
This is a story that will do not ever do a pre-settlement occupancy.
No.
And
post-settlement, fine. We say PSO.
Yeah.
Post-settlement, fine.
Yep.
Pre-settlement occupancy, where the buyer comes into and moves into the property before, unless you're doing a lease to purchase situation, no, and
it's too much risk.
No.
Too much risk.
No.
These people could have now the buyers in this property, they did everything they could to try to get the settlement. They I don't know what happened with their money. That $2 million is still sitting in the IRS somewhere.
It had to do with some overseas stuff, and that it ended up being like everyone had huge question marks about everyone. And this is a situation, I mean, we really felt for everyone
Yeah,
involved.
yeah, because there was really no wrongdoing.
It was,
Yeah.
it
But
was
but it
just,
could have been wrongdoing if they
yeah,
had been a scammer.
yeah,
They could have stayed in that property. The seller missed out on properties he was trying to
yeah,
buy in Texas because he was
yeah,
going to use that money. So ended
yeah.
well. Everything ended up well. But
Everything always ends up well.
no, don't say that. I just said it on offer number situation number 1. All right.
And it's not like nobody heard.
Don't worry, nobody will watch this video.
Okay.
All right. So lessons from this one: do not do a pre-settlement occupancy. Lesson number 2 is cash is not always king. The money is only king when it's in the account at escrow.
Yeah.
And lesson number 3, what is that lesson? I can't read.
It's not over until it's over. So
Yes.
Kelly, keep your mother effing mouth shut.
That's right. Even if everybody has signed at title, the transaction is not official in Virginia
am I so stupid all
until
the time?
it is registered. The deed has been registered.
I'm sorry.
All right. It's okay. It's okay. We have to recover from that one. Next.
Wow, these apparently really are good ones that you came up with, because I'm like traumatized all over again.
Getting all emotional over here.
Okay.
All right. And the last one. This one was really intriguing.
I think we've done something about this one.
We did. We
talked
did. We have
about-
another video on this one. It's on title insurance.
You should
So
link to that
I'll
one
link
too,
to that
'cause it's a
video
bit
as well, because there's a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Long story short on this one,
This was
we
here in Great
represented
Falls.
Great Falls, actually a block and a half away from where we live. We represented the buyers.
Mhm.
Buyers are under contract. Again, 10 days before settlement, we get a call from everything's going well. The
Mhm.
buyers have ordered $75,000 worth of furniture to come into this property.
Finance is fine.
Finance is
the
fine.
seller is great.
Yes.
The seller's agent is great. We're obviously great.
The seller's given the
Everything
buyers
is
signed
perfect.
jerseys. Like everybody's have a great rapport.
It's a very good title company.
Yes, yes.
Like
Luckily,
very, very good.
Kelly didn't say anything on this transaction, but
So it wasn't my fault. Thanks, Sean.
10 days prior to settlement, we get a call from the
Title
listing
company.
agent. Nope, seller's agent called me. She called
right?
and she said, we just want to let you know we're getting this worked out, but there is an issue with title. Apparently, somebody in the chain of title is making a claim that they have the right to the property. So we brought the title company in and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, 5 owners back, 25 years roundabout. Somebody says they didn't sign a document that gave up their right to the property.
Quit claim deed, yeah.
Quit claim deed on a piece of land that now has a $3+ million property, and that person is claiming that is theirs. And apparently, they had a legitimate claim. We had to back out of this contract.
Yeah.
Luckily, the seller could not perform, so the buyers were able to back out and go get another
get
property.
their earnest money deposit
Yeah.
back, right? Because it was the seller who didn't,
Yeah.
who defaulted on
Yeah.
the contract.
That's right.
But so what's the lesson learned here? Because the other thing that the seller did that was amazing when he bought the property was...
He got that owner's title insurance. So we did an entire video on his title insurance is scam.
Mhm.
We have no financial interest whatsoever, whether you get title insurance or not, but we have done 2 transactions where there have been title issues that title insurance covered the attorneys, the research, the issues. So on this property, should this person win and get that $3 million house, the title company will make the seller whole.
Yeah.
And it's still going on. The property is still for rent right now because they haven't been able to sell it because they don't have clear title because of this.
Yeah. So at least he's collecting rent.
Yep. So the lesson learned on that one is, number 1, it's not over till it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, make sure whenever you buy a property, you get enhanced title insurance.
Always get your owner's policy.
Yeah.
And number 3, it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah,
It can happen to anybody.
Yeah,
even...
this was an athlete. He played for the Commanders, and
his initials aren't. No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
his name is, but we're not going to mention it. No, and we didn't even know he lived down the street from us. This is really cool that this guy lived right down the street. But anyway, yeah. So that's our 3 biggest transactions. So lesson number 1.
Our 3 biggest, most memorable
transactions. Yes. Lesson number 1: the lender matters, and Kelly has her license, so make sure she's looking out for you.
You just asked me.
Lesson number 2: cash is not always king. It's not over till it's over, and no pre-settlement occupancies.
Don't do that ever again.
Yeah.
That dog ruined so much stuff.
That dog wasn't even supposed to be there.
That dog wasn't even supposed to be there.
And number 3 is
always get your owner's policy for title insurance.
That's right.
Always.
Always. Okay. Do you have anything else?
I'm sorry for my mouth.
Is forgiven, I hope. God, please forgive. All right.
I'm so sorry.
We'll see you guys on the next video.